So I just finished this book and it is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to That Book Life, and the day is finally here. Sally Rooney's new book is out. So I have Beautiful World, Where Are You in this box. I just went downstairs to get my mail and a pink drink. I thought I was gonna work out. I put on my workout clothes. You can't see my bottoms, but no. The book came and I am about to read this entire thing. The only thing is I do actually have a school thing for about 4 hours later, which won't really help in my goal of finishing it in one sitting. But I really want to start it, so I think I'm just gonna start it now. But enough blabbering, let me open it and see this book. I've only really seen the yellow cover edition, or no, the pinkish yellow one, because I've been watching other booktubers who got, what are they called, like early copies of it to kind of review it and read it. Me with 50 views a video have not gotten it. I'm a little salty, Sally Rooney, because Normal People is my favorite book of all time and Conversations with Friends is a masterpiece, but it's okay. I understand. I'm unknown. Anyway, I'm gonna open this right now. Also, this is Ella, everyone. She's my little baby. She normally sleeps on me, but right now she's on crack cocaine. I swear sometimes, I think it's because she's a kitten, she just acts like an animal. Okay, bro, she is an animal, but she acts absolutely crazy. This is the book! Not gonna lie, I kind of like the pink more just because I loved that shade of pink, but the blue is gorgeous. It's making me feel weird that this is a hardcover because my other two copies of her books are soft covers, and I love breaking a book. Like, I love bending it this way, you know, when you like bend it around. I'm actually reading a book right now that I'm doing that with, and it just feels so good to wreck a book because it makes it your own. With hardcovers, it's a lot harder, and you just feel bad doing it because you know there's so much more effort put into making these. But anyway, this is gorgeous. I don't know who the designer was for this cover, but they did phenomenal. They did a phenomenal job. What are you doing? Why are you meowing? I really like how the back is laid out. So it says, I was sitting half asleep in the back of a taxi, remembering strangely that wherever I go, you are with me, and so is he. And that as long as you both live, the world will be beautiful to me. That sounds like poetry. Sally Rooney is a goddess we must cherish forever. No way! The publisher is from Canada, but she's Irish. Maybe just my copy is from a Canadian publisher. That makes a lot more sense, actually. But look at this too. My God, that's beautiful. I wonder if it's on the back as well. Yeah, on the back too, it's the floor. So the front is a table with an apple and the back is a floor. I like that her kind of biography or this little blurb about her is so simple. It just says Sally Rooney's an author, basically. But God, I'm so excited for this. I have watched videos about this book. None of them included spoilers. Jack Edwards is a great YouTuber. You probably all know him. And I watched his video on it like 2 days ago. So I'm really excited to read this because he mentions there are letters, and they made my heart melt in Normal People. The emails, not letters. I also want to read you the back of the book, or like the little synopsis, because it'll get you a better idea of what it is, but I don't want to spoil the book. So it says, Alice, a novelist, meets Felix, who works in a warehouse, and asks him if he'd like to travel to Rome with her. In Dublin, her best friend Eileen is getting over a breakup and slips back into flirting with Simon, a man she has known since childhood. Okay, that makes sense. There are 4 people on the cover, 2 girls and 2 guys, so I'm sure it's gonna be all about them 4 and their relationships. This is enough of an intro. I'm so excited to start reading, and I will update you as I get into the book, throughout it, and at the end. I'll keep like the vlog portion, of course, and kind of checkpoints spoiler free, and at the end probably dive into spoilers so that you can click off if you have not read it yet. Look at her. Update. I am on page 74. It is the next day. I ended up not having any time to read last night, so I just waited for today. But today was also very hectic because I had in-person classes and then I had to rush home for my class afterwards. But reading was a blast. I read with my reading buddy, who's very focused on the pigeons outside. But this book is beautiful so far. I missed Sally Rooney's writing so much. You're also just thrown into these characters. The second chapter is already an email from one of them to the other. They have a past. There's a reason they're basically best friends. They're both weirdos and outcasts. They do both remind me a lot of Marianne from Normal People. And I will say that Simon, which is one of the main guys, one of the main males in this story, reminds me a bit of Connell. So no, not the paper. So I'm 50% in, and this book is amazing. It's so well written. I haven't read anything like it since the last time I read Sally Rooney, and I just think that goes to show what an amazing author she is. She's so unique. The amount of detail in some of these, in every page, but specifically the detail that stands out, it makes the story so much richer. Her characters are the most flawed yet beautiful people I've ever read about. I'm having the best time. Genuinely, that's all I can say. I'm having the best time. I am loving it too much to stop and take out a sticky note and my pen. So for really, really like wow specific or important pages, I've just been bending the top corner of the page so that I can go back to it and kind of remember it. But the way she writes is so beautiful. I keep repeating myself, but she just describes everything in so much detail, what the characters are thinking, their motives. I love the raw conversations these characters are having with each other, and you can clearly tell it's a more mature book than Normal People and Conversations with Friends, just because they're all adults now. They're in their 30s, and you can feel it. You can feel that they're in that stage in their life where they aren't, I guess, as worried about what other people think of them because they're a little bit more mature and they really only care about their inner circle. Another thing I'll say is I adore that she made one of the protagonists be a writer as well, because I think you can clearly see that Sally Rooney pulled from her personal experiences in the industry as a novelist. In this book, she talks about the industry and what it's like and some of the more disheartening truths about it. And I loved in one of the emails, because it's almost every other chapter, there is a long email thread between two of the characters. And in one of the email threads, she's basically saying authors who write about normal people or ordinary people are actually entitled and they don't live a normal contemporary life. And just reading that, I was like, oh, Sally Rooney, are you digging at yourself a little bit? I don't know. It's just so beautiful. Honestly, I love it. And something else I'll say that I've been missing, because I read so much fantasy, which I still love, but in this book, they talk about politics, they talk about sex, they talk about relationships on such what feels like a personal level, because it's coming from these characters' deepest parts of their minds and hearts. And me reading about it feels like I'm intruding on them. Is that the word? I can just rave about this book for so long. I'm only halfway through, so I have exactly halfway left. I don't like that this is a hardcover. I wish it was softcover like her other books. I don't know why, it just feels not too fancy for her, but I don't know, I can't explain it. I just don't really like that this is hardcover. Oh god, this sounds so superficial, but I love like the artsy feel of the soft cover and kind of how it looks like it isn't as important because what's inside is so mind-blowing and beautiful and you wouldn't expect it. I also don't like the color. It's like mustard yellow, but I do think it's different depending on the country. I think other countries have like a blue cover underneath. So I just finished this book and it is so good. And I feel kind of bad that the biggest thought in my head right now is I still stand by the fact that this should have been... You're disturbing my cat. My most prominent thought remains that this should have been a soft cover. Sally Rooney belongs in soft cover books. They feel more raw and real, which her books are. Now I'm gonna get into a spoiler-free review and what I thought about the book. You all obviously know that I loved it. I thought it was really, really well done. What was interesting was because there are two female protagonists and they each have their own partner or guy in the book that's for them, like in their story, because it's kind of two stories going together, and then at the very end everyone meets up. Sally Rooney's books typically have not depressing endings, but along those lines, they leave room for interpretation, imagination, and kind of making up the overall end for yourself as the reader, which in some sense I enjoy, but it also makes it so much harder to read at the ending because I love the characters that she writes so much. I just want them to be happy all the time, and she never lets us have that, and she just doesn't write happy people. But in this book, how she kind of chose to do it was all of them are very screwed up people, and throughout the book we see that they're all very screwed up and just real people, so I love them. And I thought Alice and Eileen were the two main people, were such a good example and representation of what it's like to have a best friend in today's age. It's weird and it's hard because sometimes you have these raw conversations about sex and relationships in your life, but you also never feel like the other person appreciates you as much as you appreciate them. Everyone feels this way. It sucks. I know I felt that way where in the past I care so deeply and want the best for my best friend, and she won't text me back, or she just won't acknowledge me in her life anymore, or you see them moving on or hanging out with different people. And that's talked about in this book about how it sucks. You never feel like your love is reciprocated enough. Yeah, it sucks, but it's such a normal part of life now, and I think a lot of people feel that way. Not only with friendships, but with significant others. It's so hard to feel like you love the other person more. A lot of the times, both people in a relationship, friendship or love, both people will feel that way. It's just one will express their love differently, so it makes them feel more obviously to themselves as the one who loves more and isn't loved as much back. Basically, the entire book just talks somberly but beautifully about love and relationships. Also about politics and the world and capitalism. I love Sally Rooney's books because you're getting so much in one book. You're learning about life and you're learning about how you react to some of the things being said, and by the end of it, because Alice and Eileen are both so flawed, I did like one of them more. This isn't a spoiler. I liked Eileen a lot more. Alice would complain equally as much as Eileen, but her life is so much better on paper. Well, this is a book, but she's so much more successful. She has so much more money. She has so much more freedom. She's the one who ghosts Eileen sometimes. But again, because we do get all these different perspectives, like we know how Alice feels, and she has had a very hard time mentally and emotionally in her life. but still sometimes it's like, what justifies you being a dick to someone else, to your best friend, because you feel your life is unfair and you find her complaining to be unnecessary. But it's like, Alice, your life actually is okay, technically. Like, yes, your feelings are valid, you're allowed to be sad, everyone can be sad, but when you're a millionaire who can live anywhere they want, who can support themselves, who could choose to buy an apartment and live with their best friend but instead ghosts her, and then you complain to your best friend, I don't know. But that might be controversial for other people who've read this book. Anyway, more on the guys in the story. I'm talking a lot about just the characters, but Sally Rooney's books are mainly focused on the characters, so that's why that's the focus of the review. At first, I loved that both were quite flawed, but then later in the book, one of them just is such an awful person, like deep down. He reminded me a lot of one of the guys that Marianne dates in Normal People. Not the guy in Sweden or Switzerland. It's the guy she dates who goes to Italy with them, or Spain, wherever they go. Anyway, Marianne in Normal People dates a very awful guy. He's just a fucking dick. He's racist. He's homophobic. He's mean to Marianne and all her friends. One of the main guys in this book reminded me so much of him because he was a bad person. He was so mean and cruel with his words. And then he was so manipulative. Oh my God. To be fair, Alice is too. So this guy is the guy with Alice, like in her story. And Alice is a bad person too sometimes. I mean, in the book they talk about like what justifies calling someone a bad person or doing something right versus wrong if there's no meaning to life. But Alice can be very mean. I'll leave it at that. Maybe she's not a bad person because she has redeeming qualities and sometimes she's nice and she knows it. She's smart enough to know when she's being mean, which I also sometimes related to when I was reading that. But he is another level of cruel because he will talk to her and complain to her about her personality and twist him being mean as, oh, you need this because you're successful and people praise you. This is how normal people treat normal people. And you're not used to it because you think you're a celebrity now. But he's not treating her like a normal person. He's treating her like dog shit because he's an awful person. So that was really aggravating to read about. I was just mad and pissed off every time he was in the book. Fucking Felix. But I guess on the writing as well, those emails, man, they make me jealous. I want to have a friend that I can email like that too. Another thing, I didn't annotate just because I was way too into the reading, but for some pages, I did remember to put down the page so that I would know it's an important page. And what was a recurrent theme throughout the writing and throughout the book is the intense amount of detail, and it adds so much to the overall story. It's insane. That's another thing with time. She's so precise. Like when she's explaining Sally Rooney, when she's writing and describing their daily lives and kind of what they're doing throughout their day and their tasks, she says 2 minutes later, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. Sometimes there's actually like timestamps. So at one point, I believe it's Eileen typing a message, and it says she starts at 00:47, and by the time she finishes writing the text, it's 00:58. But then she ended up deleting it all anyway and not sending it. But it just, knowing that makes you understand how she's feeling so much more, because it shouldn't take you that long to write a simple text because you can read the text, you know how long it is. And you realize how much she's struggling to put into words how she's feeling, and then she isn't satisfied with what she put into words, so she deletes it anyway. And it's so aggravating because there's so much miscommunication in this book. Actually, that's kind of a lie. They talk so openly. I think, okay, I'm gonna get into that after. I want to say I have so many thoughts. Kind of example of the detail, the amount of detail in this book. So they're at a restaurant. It says 40 minutes later they were eating at a local restaurant. At the center of the table was a lit candle, a wicker basket of bread, a squat bottle of olive oil, and a taller fluted bottle of dark vinegar. Even the food is so detailed. Okay, Felix was eating a sliced steak, very rare, dressed with parmesan and rocket leaves, the interior of the steak glistening pink like a wound. It just really makes you feel like you're there at the table watching them and seeing their interaction and their dinner happen. This is kind of spoilers. Was that kind of spoilers? No, but this is kind of spoilers. More on just my thoughts of how the book wraps up and the characters and kind of what happens throughout the book. I thought Eileen sometimes, although I liked her more than Alice because she just straight up wasn't as much of a bitch, that her life kind of sucked too much for her to be very rude. She needs to have a somewhat positive outlook on life to deal with her unhappiness or her unhappy life. But she did not treat Simon fairly at all. And that made me so sad for him because she kept mentioning that Simon was closed off emotionally. There was a word she used, I already forgot it, but that he was not emotionally stunted, but kind of restricted, or just he's very closed off. That's the best way I can remember to describe it right now. And I didn't see it that much. I felt like anytime Eileen and Simon interacted, he was very open and honest with her. He was very communicative. He was never the reason for the miscommunications that happened between them. It was always her. And yes, we find out that we also just know from the start she self-sabotages herself a lot of the time and just doesn't think necessarily she deserves to be happy or doesn't know how to deal with being happy, so she pushes him away a lot. That aggravated me a bit about their relationship because I wanted good things for Eileen, but Simon was so good. It was such a cute childhood romance to stay in your life forever. It makes me sad that she wasted time with Aiden, but I don't know, just in their relationship specifically, I didn't understand why Eileen was saying that she felt Simon wouldn't communicate with her well or was closed off emotionally. Just because he doesn't need nurturing and he doesn't need her to take care of him doesn't mean he's not an emotional person or that can't have deep, meaningful conversations with her about their relationship. On the ending, I am very surprised that Simon and Eileen got such a happy ending. I thought it was very happy. I mean, she's pregnant, she's happy, she's saying she wakes up every morning feeling happy, respected, and loved, and we know Simon feels the same way. I will say, Sally Rooney is so sneaky because, so first we get Alice's email to Eileen, and she never in that letter, or in that email, right at the end, like when it's been the pandemic now, never mentions Simon's name until the very end, and she doesn't connect Simon to Eileen. But earlier in the letter, she says something about, I'm so happy you're happy with your boyfriend. And I was thinking, oh no, why did she say your boyfriend and not Simon? Are they not together? And I wonder if Sally Rooney did that on purpose to make us readers scared and get through those last pages fast so we could find out if they ended up together, because I saw the amount of pages left, I knew we were at the end. But I'm very happy for them. I just, like I said, I'm surprised because both Normal People and Conversations with Friends didn't have very happy endings. And I guess if you're an Alice stan, it's not the happiest ending. It sucks that she stayed with Felix. I think she can do better, even though sometimes she's a nutcase. He's just not that great. I don't know, I also felt like it was so weird when he asked her in the car with everyone if she's gonna buy the house. And it was so weird when he asked Simon if she can have dogs at her place. Why the fuck would Simon know? And it made me feel like he was using her to have the house, and he knows that she has a lot of money. I wonder if he ever got those money issues resolved. So there are still some things that kind of weren't closed off at the end, or that we didn't get closure on. And did he sign the house with his brother to sell it? I wonder. Yeah, Alice and Felix just didn't do it for me in this book. However, that being said, I still loved it, and I loved reading their story as well. It was a really good parallel of having one be very successful, very rich, have a completely different job than the 9 to 6 p.m. worker who's Eileen at a job she kind of hates. I think I also might have just related to her a little bit. Her job was kind of in editing. When they were describing, when the writing was describing her job, it was her just fixing commas and reading stuff and just editing it. And that can be so boring sometimes if you're not passionate about what you're reading and editing. So I felt for her because I kind of did a bit of that at my last job and it was not fun. I've talked a lot. This is gonna be so long, my god. I will say I find it interesting. I haven't decided if it's a positive or negative thing that she slipped in those last 2 emails at the end during the pandemic. On one hand, yes, it's relevant to include in the book, but it still is fiction. I don't know if we needed it. But I guess at the same time, I'm assuming Sally Rooney wrote a majority of this book during lockdown, so maybe she kind of wanted to piece that together and have this book be somewhat of a symbol of what she achieved during lockdown. But yes, those are a majority of my thoughts on the book. Or maybe not even half of them, but this clip alone right now is 21 minutes and 42 seconds, and I have so many other clips in this video, so I need to stop. But I really hope you enjoyed. I'm so satisfied. I want more from her. The last thing I'll say is I don't feel nearly as destroyed or as invested as I did with Normal People. This book, it's still a 5-star, but Normal People was beyond phenomenal. It stuck with me. I thought about it for so many weeks after I read it. I still think about it. And Beautiful World, Where Are You is similar in the fact that it stays with you. The writing is so exquisite. Honestly, it's just a wonderful piece of literature to read. The emotions it evokes in you as a reader aren't the type to really make you attached to the story or the characters as much as Normal People did. And on one hand, I kind of feel bad because the point isn't to compare all of her other works to Normal People, since it's my favorite one of hers. It's to just appreciate her work. So I do still appreciate the book very much. It was very, very good. I highly recommend it to everyone. Try and get it in a soft cover copy. I want a soft cover copy. I think I would read it again if I got it in one. That's officially everything. So bye.